Welcome to Beyond the Beers. Men breaking the stereotype through conversation. We men love a good yarn, some banter, even better over a beer or 10. Sadly for many men, it never goes deeper than that. This show is a place for men to go beyond the surface level conversations, a chance to learn, listen, laugh and grow. I'm your host Mike Campbell, man coach and author of Amazon bestseller for men's health, Unleash Your Alpha. Let's break stereotypes through conversation. Let's go beyond the beers. Let me introduce the guest that I have on today's show, Mr. JuVan Langford. Welcome.
Good to see you, man.
Good to see you too. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me.
Now, I met JuVan a little while ago back in Sydney. We're in LA today, at a workshop I attended, and I was instantly drawn to this man. Not just because of his stature and frame, but because of the nature of this guy. Learning a little bit more about him, I discovered I'd actually watched one of his videos on YouTube about his program, The Elevated Man. Having now spent some time with him here in LA, I can tell you this is a kind-hearted, a compassionate and powerful man. There's a lot more to him than meets the eye, so let's get in and learn a little bit about him. So JuVan, welcome to the show. It is great to have you here. Now, I've given a little intro there, but I want to hear a little bit more about you. So I want you to give us the over a beer. What do you spend your time doing, and how do you make an impact?
Man, where do you start? I originally from the East Coast. Was born in New Bedford, Massachusetts, right outside of Boston. I grew up in a pretty tough neighborhood, I would say, inner city kid. I had some challenges growing up. My dad passed away when I was about 4 years old. He had leukemia, had cancer, and he passed away. He was 30 years old, and I had a teenage mother who took it very hard when my dad passed and started drinking and drugging, and she went into this downward spiral, and it resulted in me and my sisters actually going through foster care. Right. So we legally adopted. I was about 4 years old when that happened. So even though that was a huge challenge, a huge time in my life where I was questioning a lot of things and confused as to what was going on, a lot wasn't being explained, just a lot was happening. I was in a house that was filled with love. I was in a house that was filled with a nurturing nature.
The foster place.
Absolutely, yeah. The woman who raised me, I went through a little bit of a challenge for a little bit, and then my grandmother, she actually legally adopted me and two of my sisters. So I'm the oldest of 5 and only boy. So God bless me, please send prayers my way. But I have an amazing family, and I'm very grateful for that. And just growing up in a household that's filled with feminine energy and filled with love, it definitely served me in a lot of ways, but it also presented a lot of challenges for sure, especially growing into what it meant to be a man. Nowadays, I'm living in Hollywood, living in LA. I've been here for the last several years working in entertainment. I own a digital agency in LA called Thought Life Media, and I also do men's coaching. It's truly something I've become very passionate about as of late, being able to travel the world, facilitating workshops, working with men, supporting them in truly reframing the stories that are not serving them in their lives, and teaching them how to create and live their legacy now. Growing up in that house with women, like I said, it presented challenges. I had a very hard time connecting with my male counterparts. I didn't have a lot of male friends growing up. It was a very big challenge for me. And about my sophomore year of high school, I got really good at basketball. So I played, and you can't tell on camera, but I'm 6'6". I'm a pretty big guy, and got really, really, really good. And a lot of schools started recruiting me. And that's when the girls started showing up, and like the newspapers, write-ups, and colleges are reaching out. And so I went through this phase where I had friends all of a sudden, and then people were worried about who I was all of a sudden. I got seen and heard, and it was very different. Yeah, it was a big shift. And it really wasn't, even through college, I had challenges connecting with men, having teammates. I would play on the court, and it was time to grab a beer. JuVan would head back to the room and read a book, or to kind of, hey, just being afraid of connecting and being seen. Because I dealt with losing my dad, and something I also dealt with that I speak a lot about in workshops and when I work with men is I experienced sexual abuse as a kid. And it's something I shied away from, and I hid for a long time, not wanting to be judged or the stereotypical things that come with that, with the abuse. And so my conversation around men was that if I connect with this man, he's gonna hurt me or he's gonna leave me. And so, to not deal with either of those things, I'm just gonna have female friends, have girlfriends, stay with my female family, and be safe and hide out. And so being a men's coach, a men's empowerment coach today is huge. And what I think and I believe is that our greatest challenge as men, it's our duty, our responsibility to break through that and then teach that thing. So whatever you're challenged with as a man or a woman, it's your duty in this time to learn the lessons that come with that thing so that you can teach and change the lives of people that you come into contact with. And so as a men's coach today, it's truly phenomenal to be able to connect deeply and to have these intimate conversations and to lead with vulnerability and to be authentic with what I've been through. Because at the end of the day, it's not about me. It's about the legacy I leave behind. It's about the lives I'm able to touch, the hearts that I can reach, move, and inspire. So to answer your question, because I want to come back to that, because that's a little bit of a context, how do I do that today? What does that look like today? I now believe a lot of men, a lot of the challenges in the world are based on dysfunctional men. And so it's my mission, my vision to support men by creating safe spaces, whether it's one-on-one coaching, whether it's a workshop, a training, a speech, and teach them that it's underneath our shame, underneath the thing that we're hiding from, the pain, the abuse, whatever it is, underneath that we don't talk about, that we hide, that we refuse to mention during the bear, that we refuse to talk about at the gym, that we refuse to delve deep in and to let go of what may happen after sharing. We go there and we talk about it and we change the story, we reframe the story so that it serves them and supports other people. And it's been huge because I've started with me and I'm only able to go there with them because I've gone there with myself.
One of the things on that subject, one of the things that we like to do here in Beyond the Beers, and certainly one of the things that I'm passionate about as well, is encouraging men to dive into the conversations that we avoid. So I want to ask you, what are the conversations that you avoid, or perhaps have you avoided in the past?
I did for a number of times until I didn't. And one of those conversations was losing my dad. I didn't want to talk about it because I didn't want to be another one of these men of color who's fatherless. I didn't want to talk about my mother who was on drugs all of my life, and I drove by down the street and saw her using, and not being able to do anything about it. I didn't want to talk about being in foster care. I'm a charity case. I didn't want to talk about being abused because if they see me, then I'm not a man, I'm a faggot, I'm feminine, I'm gay, I'm all these things because of that. And now I talk about everything because at the end of the day, Mike, my commitment is to increase my capacity to serve more people. And that person that I'm committed to is the man, is teaching men how to go there, how to dive head first and not make it about me. Because if I was to hide, then I rob everybody I come into contact with of knowing who I truly am. Because my story may inspire your story, may inspire his story, may inspire her story. So it's not making it about me and focusing outward, knowing that I'm here for something bigger. I truly believe that. It's one thing to talk about it, but action is all that matters at the end of the day. It's the result.
Very cool. So a lot of the stuff you've shared, you're talking about coming from a place of your heart, right? So I want to ask you, there's obviously a lot of intuition and gut for you. So does that translate to having an actual conscious set of rules or maxims or guidelines that you live by that determine and help guide what you do?
That's a good question. I would say for me personally, it would be relationships. Relationships for me are currency. And what I've done over the last, I'd say 2 years, is invested and become very conscious of the people I spend time with. Because they influence the way I show up, they influence the language, they influence how I communicate, what I think of myself, what I think of the world. And perception is everything. If I perceive that I'm going to be a millionaire or I'm going to be successful, then I will create that. Just my actions will follow that, right? If you are constantly put down and told that you're not enough and that, maybe one day you'll be successful or I don't think that you're a good looking person, or it's just like this dark cloud.
And this can also be internal as well as external, right?
Yes, but it starts from the environment. We're told this. It's that moment where you're in the mirror in the bathroom and your dad walks in and says, "Get out the mirror, you ugly," whatever, you fill in the blank, right? Yeah. And then for the rest of your life, that story gets reinforced and it crystallizes in our mind and we perceive ourselves as that ugly, fill in the blank. And now we navigate that, we bring that into relationships, we bring that into work, we bring that into friendships, and it takes work to melt that crystal of I'm not enough, that I don't look good. So that's the reframing. And every workshop, every book, every podcast that I read and listen to, it just chips off a little bit, and we're constantly under construction. It's an ongoing process.
It is ongoing, absolutely.
Yes, honor your flow.
You, this is the big focus for your life, is around fostering building relationships.
For sure.
Yeah.
It's relationships that have supported me. I know that if I'm going through a hard time or I'm having a scarcity conversation when it comes to money, I know who to call. If I'm having a relationship challenge, I know exactly who to call. If I'm having, it's the relationship that I lean on. But if you don't invest in your relationships and you don't deepen the relationships, you can't lean on it because it won't be as strong.
And one of the big things there that you're doing is you're reaching out, right?
Yeah.
And so I think this is a very important thing
Yes.
to touch on very quickly, is that
Huge.
so many of us guys, we have this little mask, this little ego
Yes.
that says we need to do everything ourselves.
Yeah.
And we won't reach out and ask for help.
Yeah.
So for you, it's clearly something you embrace now. Was this part of your own journey in terms of looking within and dealing with your story and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, it's asking for help is still a big one for me.
Yeah.
Still a big one. I was just talking to someone recently and talking about how I, for the first time in my life, hired an assistant to support me in my projects and work, and it's been like this. I'm like shaking, like, are they gonna be able to handle it the way that I need them to handle it? Are they gonna be able to complete it the way that I need to complete it? Are they gonna, and then control, wanting to control things. I've got it too, I've got those things.
Yep.
But what I've learned to do is shift at every corner, at just learning that, okay, I get to allow this person to show up for me. And a lot of men are good at being unforgettable to everybody else. Oh, Mike, yeah, I'll come help you out, dude. I'll come help you move. Oh, yeah. You need some money here? Dude, $20, just give it to me when you get it. And they can give and give and give. But when it comes time to needing something or receiving something, we don't know how to act. Or we don't know how to ask, and we don't know how to act, right? But here's what I learned, that by not receiving from you, I break the cycle of giving. And so if I'm breaking the cycle of giving, when I do go to give, I'm giving from a depleted place, right?
Yeah.
And not from a place of power. So am I really giving in the bigger scheme of things? I'm giving what I have left and not what I am. Does that make sense? Yeah. So you want to give and also receive, so you continue that, and that vicious cycle becomes a virtuous cycle, and everybody wins. It's flow. It's learning to flow and allow. Yeah. And I think if I could go back and tell myself something, 10 years ago, even 2 years ago, I would tell myself, be more gentle with you. Be gentle with yourself.
Yeah.
We're so hard, especially as men, we're so hard. Like, things have to be a certain way. Things have to be perfect. I was talking to somebody recently and they said, if things aren't perfect, it's not working. If it's not perfect, it's not working. I said, wow, so then nothing must be working in your life.
That sounds like
nothing must be working. Wow. You know?
Yeah.
So it's, again, the perception. So that's a beautiful point. And I'm aligned with it 100%.
All right, so while we're on that topic of manhood, let's dive into that. It's something I'm passionate about, I know you are, and it's something that here on the Beyond the Beers we like to talk about, the topic of manhood and improving ourselves as men. So I want to ask you, what is it you think it is to be a man? What's your picture of what it is to be a man today?
Man, such a beautiful question. I feel, I could talk about this for days. I can come at this from so many different angles.
Give me your short.
But I'll give you the elevator speech. What it means to be a man. There's being a man, then there's being good at being a man. Mm-hmm. Being good at being a man is the aggression. It's the show, right? And being a man is embodiment. And so being a man, when you embody being a man, it's three things for me. It's authenticity, integrity, and maturity. That's what a man is. Someone who shows up authentically, who stands in integrity, and operates and acts with maturity in his life. That's it. And when we talk in the workshops with the mentor, we say there's three things that every man aims towards. So A, authenticity, I, integrity, and M, maturity. And in short, that's what I would say.
And do you find in those workshops that there's resonance with that boys can figure out what that means and then and create some kind of path towards that?
For sure. We do this exercise. We create a dyad, like two big circles. And on one side, it's boyhood, and the second side is manhood. And we go through and we say, okay, what's boyhood mean? Oh, toys, video games, picking your nose, and they do all these things, right? And then we talk about what is a man? Wife, kid, job. It means when you make money, when you go on vacation, and all these things. And I say, okay, guys, so how do you go from boyhood to manhood? And I start laughing. When you have sex, when you have sex, when you get your first. I don't really want to say it. I can't say it. You know, they have that moment, that little funny moment with the kids.
Someone will say it.
And then they will say it, and then they'll talk about having holding a gun for the first time, and they talk about having sex for the first time, and they talk about stabbing somebody for the first time, and getting initiated, and doing that, and it's really disappointing to hear the things that come up in that midsection there for these boys in these workshops.
The pathway that they're talking about,
and what they believe, their perception of what it means, you know, and where we go from there is we talk about, okay, what about a girl? You know, what about a girl? And it's the period, right? The woman bleeds and she becomes a woman. So what is that? Is there that rite of passage from boyhood to manhood? And so what we do before we go there is we go through each of the different examples that they provided, and we say, okay, you said to be a man, you have to have hair on your face. Come up here. What is your name? Miguel. Okay, Miguel, you have a little piece of hair. Are you a man yet? No. Okay, sit down. Cross it off. Okay, Miguel, I'm gonna hand you this gun. We have a little fake gun. We hand him the fake gun. Are you a man now? Nah, man, I guess not. No. Cross it off. We go through, we reframe everything in that midsection. And then we talk about aiming. We talk about authenticity, integrity, maturity, the characteristic traits of manhood, and not physicality. Because there are some men who are in their feminine energy, some men who are in their masculine energy. Some men are black, white, speak Islamic, they study Islam. It's different for everybody. But everything what a man should focus on are those three things. And that's really the conclusion of what we speak into the kids we work with.
Very nice.
Yeah, and if we can get to the boys, here's the thing. I work with men because I'm passionate about it, but it's not for them. It's for the woman. Yeah. And that's like
everyone,
And again, going back to what we started, a lot of the world's issues are from dysfunctional men. So these men were once boys. And they're going from being boys to big boys and not men. Yeah. And it's the dysfunction, it's the hiding, right? Not being able to share, not feeling safe, and the perceptions. It's the poor perception they have of themselves and of the world. And so we get to the young men, then they become empowered men who empower women, and with an empowered woman, anything in this world is possible. So it starts with our young men. If you don't have the safe space, create it. Yeah. Find someone and go to them and tell them, dude, I'm really going through something right now, and I don't feel safe sharing this. And I want to just make a request that if I share this with you, can you be that safe haven for me? Be vulnerable. That's powerful. And then chances are great that if you've been hanging out with him, that he has that same thing too. And then you deepen the relationship, and you guys actually create a bond. And it's not just the bear that brings you together, it's the bond that brings you together. Does that make sense? Yeah. So that's what I would leave guys with. And one thing I want to say is going to Australia was a phenomenal experience. And I know you're Kiwi, but you live in Australia. And I get to experience both, fortunately enough. And going from New Zealand to Australia, as soon as I got off the plane in New Zealand, we went there first, I can feel the hyper-masculine energy. It was like this big, overwhelming heartbeat of the city. You know, you just feel it, and even the men not being able to connect. I'd be interested in asking you.
Can you dive into that very quickly?
Yeah.
What do you mean by that? Just very briefly, hyper-masculine.
For sure. For me, if I would have put words to it, was the inability to connect completely. Yeah. Just very straight edge, very straightforward. Not able to truly see or be seen, not interested. It's you feel the guard up.
Guarded.
This is very guarded. This is the energy I feel from the men and some of the women actually. There's a lot of warrior energy, as you know, culturally in the city, but you can feel it. In Australia, the same. Not as strong as New Zealand, but definitely very similar.
Okay, so to wrap up, the topic of conversations, that's why we're here, connecting and having conversations. So I want to ask you, what do you think is the bigger conversation that needs to be had? And are you having it?
To create content, community, and conversations around this to support men, breaking through the conversation and living their legacy. Like everyone gets to live their legacy. You know, I'm 28. I don't have to wait until I'm 82 to leave a legacy. I'm doing that now, you know? So I'll say at 82, for the last 60 years, I've been doing this work. Does that make sense? Absolutely. And everyone gets to do that. Yeah. And, you know, between YouTube videos, between coaching, between the Elevated Man coaching program online, between one-on-one coaching, between working with, you know, Connor Beaton and Man Talks and bringing that to LA, these are all platforms for men to come join. I don't want there to be an excuse. Yeah. There's the Oprahs for the women, and there's Ellen DeGeneres, and there's women camps and Girl Scouts and all this stuff for women, but I don't want men to have an excuse anymore. Yeah. I'm not calling them out, but I am calling them forward. and saying that you have no more excuse. There's so many platforms now. There's so much access. So you no longer need to be attached to the story. You have an opportunity to change it, your life, change your story, and to show up as the powerful, vulnerable, authentic man that you were meant to be.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Awesome. I love that.
Yeah.
JuVan, thank you very much
Appreciate
for
you,
coming
brother,
on the
man.
show.
Thank you for having me. Before you let me go, though, this is what I will say. I will say that I want to acknowledge you for stepping out on faith and for trusting yourself, because I know what it takes to do this work. And I know how hard it can be sometimes to push through your own conversations in the process of serving people. So thank you for being willing to push beyond your own story, beyond your own limiting beliefs, to do this work and to create platforms to share this type of content for people like myself and all the men that you'll touch as a result of doing this work. So I thank you, we thank you for this work, man. I really appreciate you, man.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thanks for tuning into today's show. Make sure to share this with at least one man who you think will enjoy or benefit from it. For those men who want to be part of conversations like this in person, click the link below and go to beyondthebeers.tv/event to find out all the details and get your tickets for Beyond the Beers, the event, Conversations and Cool Shit for Men. That's happening in Sydney on Saturday, August 20th. There'll be a variety of conversations and cool shit to help you learn, share, and grow, and then start embracing more meaningful conversations in your own life. To learn more about Mike and how you can work with us, visit mikecampbell.com.au for loads of free content and information on how to become a better man and get more out of your life, including our half-day Solve Yourself workshop, laying the foundations for personal mastery. If you want to connect with or follow today's guests, we'll leave all the details in the show notes below. Otherwise, go out into your own life and start having the conversations that matter. Ask for help if you need it. Ask a mate how he's really doing, or if he just wants to have a real conversation, and go beyond the beers.